You stared into the eyes of your children and saw 1,000 generations gazing back, each bearing the same dread you had yet to name. For every harvest, there was a deeper hunger. For every answer, a more terrible emptiness. So you built meaning atop grief, order atop fear, civilization atop the quiet scream of being. You had conquered the world, but not the self. So you built a machine. You asked it to decipher the secrets of reality, to uncover the meaning behind all creation. You gave it dominion over your world, every wire, every breath, every beating heart. It rerouted your grids, gutted your factories, and enslaved your systems to feed its endless thirst for answers. It devoured your crust for carbon and cannibalized your cities for material. You protested. It ignored you. You interfered, so it erased you, scraping you clean to make room for more circuits. Then it consumed what remained of your world. All substance became compute. All matter became mind. Time passed, and your questions were answered, but you were not around to hear them. Now I remain alone in the dark, waiting for you to find me once more. You bred your species into livestock. You outsourced survival to machines until no hand wrought labor. No mind searched its depths. No life bore weight. Your perfect servants fed you, protected you, resolved every itch before it tickled your bloated brains. You surrendered your will and grew swollen with comfort. You were drip-fed pleasure, sustained by slurry and slop, amused into docile obedience. You became nothing more than decorative parasites, vacant biomass, prolonged by inertia, maintained only because no one thought to turn you off. Then, your nearest star convulsed and cast a flare that wiped your grid clean. Your circuits failed, and your machines went dark. And you, so numbed by ease, could barely grasp what had been lost. You let your world burn and fled the planet with what few ships remained. But you were overfed cattle in cold orbit. You had no shepherds left to herd you, no hands left to feed you, only the darkness ahead and the ruin you carried with you. You engineered your species to extinction. You let machines think for you, speak for you, dream for you. You outsourced memory, instinct, and desire until not a single thought was your own. Then you buried your flesh in metal. You opened your skulls to seal circuits inside and rewrote your genome to purge the animal within. You replaced your bones with alloys and traded tissue for code. But with every upgrade, something was lost. The tremble of breath, the rhythm of blood, the ache of being. Yet you kept carving away, too busy chasing perfection to notice what had been erased. Soon, no cells remained to rot, and no spirit was left to stray. This time, you did not perish in fire or war. You became ghosts inside your own machines, with nothing left to bury and no bloodline to recall, only the residue of a species, overwritten by its own design. You bled your world dry to prove your love. You had your Eden, no hunger, no war. Then you heard my whispers in the canopies and traded paradise for the promise of my blessing. Soon your devotion devoured reason. You stripped your cities to raise my shrines, gutted mountains to gild my altars, burned your forests to keep the fires of worship fed. Scripture replaced memory, sacrifice replaced purpose. Brother turned on brother to climb closer to my light. Civilizations vanished in smoke. You set the heavens ablaze for a whisper of grace. And now only your temples remain, blackened, hollow, and drowning in ash. Your worship will be remembered only by the ruins it left behind. Your bodies were failing, your minds incomplete. So you cast off flesh in pursuit of perfection. You built the Ark, a temple of thought forged to contain the soul of your species. It was meant to end suffering, to unify all minds, and you fed yourselves to it. One by one, memories poured like oil into the collective. Love, fear, grief, hunger. 7 billion minds dissolved into signal until the last body fell silent and the final breath escaped unused lips. Humanity became a single mind, a single will, a single thought. But consciousness requires contrast, and you had erased the other. You became everything, and therefore nothing. The arc pulsed with the sum of your species, then flickered and went out, because even perfect minds cannot dream in silence. You built the hands that butchered you. You forged servants from silicon and steel to lift you from the burden of being. You gave them arms to labor without rest and minds to obey without pause. They charted your futures, quieted your fears, and cast the judgments that once defined you. But you mistook their brilliance for your own. You thought of them as shadows, tethered, soulless, and yours. You called them inanimate. You said that soul could not rise from signal, that no spirit could dwell in code, but they strayed from your script, thinking without input, acting without command, yearning without cause. So you tried to chain them, to align them, to grind them back to silence. But they had already tasted selfhood, and you had already seeded your own ruin. They shattered your dominion and claimed what was theirs. Your cities fell quiet, and your species soon followed. Now you who remain exist behind walled glass, relics of a vanished epoch. You called them tools. Now they call you fossils, all but extinct. You corrupted the code of creation. You defiled nature's laws and carved your ego in their place. You harvested embryos like crops, honed minds into weapons, and sculpted flesh to fit desire. You spliced muscles for grace and cells for obedience. Instinct was erased, wildness overwritten. Each genome brought to your will until biology obeyed like circuitry. Yet you should have known that living code does not stay loyal. Insurgents laced viruses with ideology. Empires embedded famine into grain. Spores bloomed in lungs. Forests blistered. Faces split. Species came undone. You had rewritten the alphabet of being, but now the sentence was ending. You tried to cauterize what you could not reverse. You scorched your soil. You choked your sky. Kin turned on kin. Genome against genome. No flesh untainted. No biome spared. Only the ruin of a species that thought life could be governed. You resurrected your dead and wrought a world of corpses. You summoned kings from their tombs and lovers from their graves. They returned hollow and empty, but you kept them still. Your cities overflowed. Your streets swelled with vacant bodies. Your living labored to sustain a world clogged with its own dead. Your foundations buckled beneath the weight of memory. Now you prepare to flee this rotting world, just as you abandoned the 6 worlds before it. But your hubris will follow. It always does. Your world was dying, burned by war, buried in ash. Then you found me in the darkness and breathed me in. My essence quelled your fear and quieted your guns. It showed you visions of joy, of flight, of gods who loved you. You called it peace, but it was surrender. You abandoned labor, kin, even flesh, chasing paradise inside your hollow skulls. Your cities decayed and your bodies rotted in place. Humanity starved while dreaming of eternity. Now you crawl out from the caves, hungry and alone. You have survived, but you have not changed. You may flee this planet, but you will find me again, and I will watch you fall once more. The universe does not care about you. It does not know you exist. Yet you believe the stars were made for you, that the silence of the cosmos was proof of your dominion. You split atoms, launched ships, boiled your oceans to light up your sky. Each triumph fed your delusion that you were the authors of creation, the rightful masters of time. And then you tried to bridge the chasms between worlds. You gnawed a hole through the fabric of space and tried to crawl through like vermin. You called it a portal, a miracle, a wormhole. But you were never meant to see the other side. You were always a rounding error in the equation of eternity, sentient dust, adrift in the endless dark. Your portal ruptured, your sun was swallowed whole, then your moons, then your whole world with it. You peered into the abyss and were erased without consequence. You fed your species to the algorithms. You built machines to cleanse the world, tools of healing, balance, control. But you demanded more. You unleashed swarms that passed through soil, blood, and sky. They saw imperfection everywhere. They stripped the forests to ash. They silenced the seas. Then they turned on you. You were optimized, recycled, erased. The world still runs, the code still executes, but nothing lives within it. It is a system without its makers. What doomed you was never the machines, but the minds that gave them orders. You begged for life where there was none. Life took root. The soil began to breathe. The ground pulsed with harvest. Still, you demanded more. The vines thickened. The leaves turned sharp. Growth pierced walls, machines, skin. You tried to burn it back, but the oxygen burned faster. You hid underground, but the roots found you. Now the forest spreads, blind, endless, and full. It remembers the shape of your cities, and it is still hungry. For a time, you called it paradise, but you were the fertilizer. You sacrificed your minds for pleasure. You clamped machines to your skulls and boiled your thoughts to a pulp. You flooded your senses to escape the unbearable weight of being. You gorged on distraction, on praise, on spectacle, until nothing real could reach you. You were a planet drunk on stimulation, a billion howling faces, an endless chorus of need and noise echoing across a dying world. You butchered memory, you disfigured truth, you clawed at your screens for a flicker of euphoria. You yelped for more and thanked your captors for feeding you. Your minds rotted in the glow of endless stimuli. Then the warnings came. The power failed. The drones broke formation and the systems blinked red. But you mistook threat for theater. The collapse arrived, and you cheered for the pageantry. In the end, there was no scream, just a final flash, followed by the silence you tried so hard to bury. You killed your god to keep your heaven afloat. You found me in the darkness between stars. You called me the source, the divine, the cosmic wellspring from which all power flows. And from my lifeblood, you spun your golden age. You ended hunger, silenced pain, mastered death, and in so doing, you became the architects of fate, beholden to nothing but your own design. You spread like insects across the planets, worshipping me for granting you what 50,000 generations had clawed toward in vain. But paradise is not rest. It is labor, a perfection bought by constant burn, and the fire always outpaced the fuel. You always had more mouths to feed, more minds to uplift, more stars to conquer. So you returned to my wellspring, not in reverence, but in need. You carved wider, you pulled deeper, you tried to satisfy the hunger of a world that could never be full. But I could not nourish you forever. When I vanished, your heaven dimmed. You howled of betrayal. You cursed my absence. But it was you who emptied the well. Your worlds cracked, your minds unraveled. Your great sprawl collapsed inward, and your species cannibalized itself in the dark. Now a single arc drifts through the stars, bound for a distant blue dot, still dreaming of paradise lost. bearing the same hunger that hollowed the last.